inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, cause real women don't bitch, no. Real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is August Crenshaw with her girl, Peekaboo in the house, and we are here to do the live podcast recording. It is 2:00. Now, it's 2 p.m. on our side, but you'll understand while I'm saying this, but it's 2 a.m. on Pika's side. It's booty call. Who remembers booty call? Yeah. What in the world does booty call have to do now? Some of y'all like, August, what in the world are you talking about? We already saw that, the title was basically creating money when you need it. Whoa. No, I'm not going to talk to you about giving up your goods, but we said some silly stuff in the background, so it's cool. But it was funny when it was just us in the background. But we said some silly stuff, and so I said I was going to use that when I got on here. But yay! Those of you that don't know, this is the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast, and we live stream every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, we do, and we do this. Why? Because we want you to enjoy and engage in a conversation where you're doing more than just getting a bunch of fun facts and stuff from me, but that you're actually saying, I hear you and I need some help. I see Terry's in the house and some other people are looking.
What's up, Terry?
Hey. So just brief intro, really don't need that much of an introduction. I'm August Crenshaw, business coach, sales coach, and I help women in business build sustainable, profitable businesses. That's what I love to do. That's my jam. And who else do we have in the studio with
Peeker
us?
out here in Singapore, live in the middle of the night. Yeah, I am your mental health advocate and coach, trying to make sure y'all emotional intelligence is up to par so you can have some peaceful lives out there. That's basically all I'm trying to do, y'all. Just simple stuff,
Absolutely. And so I'm just going to come out the gate and really be hardcore with this one. Oh, you're at orientation with the kids today. Okay, that's cool. But you might end up being like, I think they're oriented. Let me step outside for a second. Gonna be juicy. But seriously, real talk. So there's phases and stages in this entrepreneurial journey. And so when they say that entrepreneurship is not meant for everybody, it's not meant to discourage people. And it's not to say that, look at the rest of the world and their worker bee self and, the employees versus the entrepreneur. But there are so many things that you have to deal with spiritually. And you have to grow as a person. You have to face yourself, and you start not learning what you do and you don't believe in this journey. And so at some point in almost all of my client relationships, we end up having a very candid conversation. There's no exception to the rule about their belief system. I have had to challenge people, and that's not just Christianity. You guys know I go hard with Christianity because that's my background. Yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever, law of attraction, whatever you practice, because a lot of us are saying things. We're saying things and they sound really good. Hallelujah. But we're not manifesting the actual results, or when we're in that state of when it is manifesting, like when the blade of grass is forcing through the concrete. I don't know if anybody ever thought about the pressure or coming up through the dirt. There's such discomfort, and the mindset stuff, they start to shift with people, and people start feeling really ungrateful, and they start worrying and getting frantic, and you begin to mess up opportunities. And so we need to talk about this today, because it's not a good breeding ground for creating wealth. And deciding that you want to be an entrepreneur is twofold. It's living in your purpose and living on purpose the way you want to. And so I just put a little bit out there. You want to, throw.
Yes, I'm going to throw myself under the bus, because you know what? There are times where I am not intentional with my messaging, and I'm not good at asking for the things I need to be asking for. And I fall symptom to panic as well. And I'm trying to get all that under control, because it happens at different stages of your business as well. Not just in the beginning. As you tend to level up or plateau and try to, move to that next level, it's going to happen again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, not fun, and definitely not fun when you're called up. But you know what? It's something I need to lean into, because otherwise I'm just going to go backwards instead of forwards.
Yeah. And that's the thing right there. That's another defining mark between most people that decide to be entrepreneurs, is that they choose to embrace the difficulties. They choose to have the hard conversations and to say, oh my God, I got to look at this side of me and see how ugly it is. And so I remember when I was driving for Uber. Now, mind you, I'm driving for Uber. I was making a little bit of money in my business. I really wasn't making enough to bring, hardcore cash to the table. But Mr. had a good job, and he was able to, I got it. I'm going to take care of things, babe. You build this business. We're going to be millionaires in 6 months, do what you do. And, like I said, my first client, it was $100 per session. It was a 3-month contract. The next one was $200 a session. And then I acquired somebody at $300 per session. So I kept on raising the rates, because every client that I got, they were paying me so quickly and easily. I was like, dang, I need to charge more money. But I'm like, I'm still not making enough money in my business. Now, mind you, I was driving for Uber, and Uber felt like it was choking the life out of me. And so this is one piece, this is one area that a lot of women in business fall short in. And that's having the staying power to work a job and build your business. I see so many women and don't get it twisted. There's more than one version, and everybody's situation is different. I see a lot of women resent working a job while building their business, and they will literally starve themselves and not work a job, all for the sake of looking like a true entrepreneur. For any of you guys that listen to Gary Vee, you're not really an entrepreneur, because you're working it out. There's no plan B, blah, 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 blah. And that no plan B gets really taken out of context. Well, while I was building my business, there was a season when driving for Uber seemed to be choking the life out of potential opportunities. But here's something else that was going on. It wasn't just about Uber. It was about me. Now, there was a time when I felt like I just can't build my business because I'm driving for Uber, but I didn't have any clients. And I was like, you know what? If I stop driving right now, I can't even guarantee that we're going to get something to eat. And since it was something that I could easily cut that app off, I would cut it off and be like, nope, I'm going to move in faith. I'm going to manifest me 3 more one-to-one clients. And that'll be more than enough to replace the money that I would get by Uber. And I cut that app off. And after about 3 days, I'm like, well, shit, ain't nobody reached out yet. Well, let me hurry up and cut this app back on, because I had already looked at the stats about how much I would make per day. 3 days, no clients, I'm behind. And so then I'm out there doing, 14, 16 hours, trying to make the money. And I'm like, dang it. So I come back again, full circle. I'm really getting stressed because I really want to do this. This is the war, right? This is what I'm made to do. I could feel it. I could believe it. I heard the voice of the angel saying, August, you're supposed to be a coach. And I feel like I'm defying my dream by driving for Uber. But what ended up happening for me is that instead of resenting Uber, I embraced it. That was the first thing that I had to do, is I had to transition my mindset and stop looking at Uber like it was the enemy and start realizing that it was actually a gift. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to use every advantage that I can at working for Uber, and I'm going to work it. Instead of being like, I need to be here and this needs to be that way, I was like, you know what? I didn't have the money. I couldn't buy a laptop back then, but I did have an iPad. So I went and bought me a little keyboard. It was cheaper to pay a little plan to be able to hotspot if I had to use that in order to, I'm like, just in case I need it. So if I have to take care of some, clerical stuff, while I'm out, I was doing live videos while I was out. Me and Mr. Crenshaw, I remember one time I was so excited. Somebody filled out an application for a strategy session, but we needed the money. And so we both driving, and we were in the same area delivering food. He had Man and I had Nene in the car. And so we met at Target, and we sat on the lot. It's hot as hell in Houston. And he took the kids in the car and they sat there while I stayed on the phone and I did a strategy session. Woman didn't sign up, but I felt really good. I said, wow, I finally got a hit. I got a strategy session. We split the kids back up again and we went right back to Ubering. And so instead of feeling like it was going to stop me, I was like, right now, I've got to look at life. I got to look at where I'm at. I've got to look at what I have created up until this point. And, and so let me go ahead and I'm going to start transitioning so you can join in this conversation too, Pika. Think about this. If you built a home, and I'll use a man for an example. You're a man and you say, oh, bachelor pad, it's just me. I need to make sure I got my room for my video games. I want my big old room, decked out where I can, be able to do what I do. And, basement, because I got a ping pong table or, my PlayStation, Xbox, refrigerator. I'm good. Bam. Now, let's just say that your whole life transitions, but you still have to stay on this same property. And you run into me, this beautiful thing, and you want a life and you want a family. Oh, I see somebody's joined us. Please raise your hand if you want to join in the conversation. And then you have to use that same plot of land, and you got to make a choice. You're either going to have to totally demolish that building and rebuild a new home that has multiple bedrooms for you and for me and for the kids. And, you're going to need more space. And so what a lot of you all aren't realizing that this is what's happening. You're taking your life that you've built, and there are pieces of it that have to totally be demolished. And maybe he doesn't have to totally demolish it, but he's going to have to knock out some walls. You know what I'm saying? In order to be able to expand. And so a lot of you, what you really end up having to do is you got to mature up, and you got to realize that you're on that same plot of land and you've built a life, and you're going to have to demolish some things to rebuild it. And so that's work. That's where the work comes in. I'm never anti-manifestation. I'm never anti these wonderful things will happen to you. But I am, please understand that these are some of the things that you will have to do. And so when I stopped looking at Uber as the enemy and I began to celebrate it and appreciate it, then the divine started giving me signs that it was time to leave. And when it was time to leave, that wasn't comfortable. So I'm going to stop right there. Camille says that's a great analogy. I have heard that. I've actually been told that. Thankfully, I've learned to agree and disagree with people and use my brain. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, you're talking about that you can't work a job and be a real entrepreneur. And Gloria, I don't recognize you. And so I don't know if you do or you don't know how to raise your hand. Or if you know how to use the chat. But I'm assuming since you've come on, you might want to speak. I'm going to there we go. Yep.
Hey, Gloria.
Yeah, I'm going to unmute you, beautiful. You know what? Better yet, I don't know why the app is not letting me unmute people. There he goes. How you doing, Gloria? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Please chime on in.
All right. Well, I just happened to see this, and I thought, well, Augusta, I know you from Stacey Walker's side of the fence, so I'm going to chime in and see what's going on today.
Okay. Yeah. So we're definitely and so I didn't even look at, I just saw Gloria. Sorry. Well,
That's okay.
no, you're fine. Now, did you want to, I mean, well, where are you at with what you heard so far?
Well, I really kind of caught once you got into it, so I didn't catch the beginning of exactly what you were talking about. I was just hoping, I'd pick it up along the way.
Okay, no problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remute you, and I'm going to put your hand down. And then if you decide that you want to chime in, then
Okay.
raise your hand, and I'll kind of even recap just a little bit
Okay.
to bring you up to speed. Okay, so yeah, I did that already. So and I need to lower her hand. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Anywho, so here we are. We need to create wealth. We need to create money in our business. And so what I'm really discussing is the fact that creating wealth, before we can really talk about that, we've got to really look at your mindset about how you feel about where you are in your life and what's going on with you. Because having a mindset of panic and a mindset of worry is not a very good breeding ground to realize that you actually have the ability to create money. And so before I say any more than that, Pika, I want to let you chime in because, this is one of those things where I could talk all day long. I know you're probably thinking several thoughts.
I am actually, because from personal experience, I feel like, yes, I know I could build a business on the side of having a job, but I also know that the job usually takes up a lot more energy than I want to give it, which means that by the time I come home, because I already have the money coming in from the job, I'm less likely to work on my business, unless, of course, I've got that mindset where I'm like, no, I'm going to push through, I'm going to do it no matter what. But then the flip side, when I've been very, very stuck before where I didn't have the money coming in, I was just completely frustrated. And I've been in positions where it was like down to my last couple of dollars and I'm trying to think, okay, what can I do next? And I find I do one of two things. One, I'll go out and do everything possible with no focus, no intention behind it. Or I will figure, okay, I have nothing left to lose. Why don't I go ask for the sale instead? Whereas if I have a little bit of money coming in, I tend to hide behind my fear and not ask for the sale still because I still have money coming in. So that's one of two things that happens with me from what I remember, what I've observed with myself.
Now, so I'm about to make a heavy correlation, and you guys, number one, I always thank anybody that's on here that's willing to be very candid and to be very honest about where you are in your situation. But I want you all to pay attention to something that Pika just said, and I want you to realize what it reveals about you if you have that kind of mechanism. Once you're down to the dirt and you really, really need it, then you get the ability to muster up the courage to ask for the sale. There's a direct correlation with your self-worth. And when it comes to money and abundance and wealth, it is impossible to accumulate a lot of it in a business if you don't believe that you're worthy of it. So you can have an arrogant spirit and believe that you're just supposed to have it and do a better job than a person that doesn't believe it, because at least you can attract what you want. But just think about this. I want to make what I just said more plain. So imagine, me as a woman. Let's just use dating again. Remember, we did the 2:00 booty call at the beginning. So here I am, a woman, and I'm out here and I'm dating. And if I kind of just go out there loosey-goosey with no standards, I may meet a guy who may be decent. He may, he doesn't necessarily open up car doors, but he'll, treat me out sometimes. But he isn't really sensitive to my needs. And, I want him to do more for me. But because I don't really have a standard even, and I didn't come with a standard in the beginning, then I kind of take whatever comes to me. And after months of dating and not feeling fulfilled, then I start asking for stuff. And then maybe he'll switch a little bit just to pacify me. And then he goes back to what he was doing. Then a few more months later, or a couple of weeks later, I'm even more and more pissed off. And then I got to really get pissed off to tell him, no, this is, I was giving this relationship a chance to grow. I thought that you'd get it together, but I deserve better than this. But you came into the situation with low self-worth. As opposed to a woman who decides that I'm going to get out here and I'm going to start dating. And I know exactly who I am and I know exactly what I desire. And I'm old school. So I'm going to need him to open up a car door. And if that's not what he automatically does, I don't have time to train him to do it. And because you have your standards, then you meet somebody who lives up to that. And then you don't have to keep on explaining to them, treat me like a lady, treat me like a lady. And so many women, what you do is you basically still kind of bring that same kind of mindset into business, where you kind of just, well, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to just throw whatever out here and I'm going to see how people respond and I'm going to see who will pay me or, what they'll do. That's you and your courtship with your potential ideal client. And that says that you don't really know your worth, but you're hoping to find yourself and identify your worth in the engagement and the relationships with people, as opposed to saying, wait a minute, hold up. And this was me. I was like, I know that I'm supposed to be a coach. And I knew it so bad that just like a woman that would be like, I know I'm supposed to have a good man. I'm a wife. I need a husband. I'm not being no side chick, no this, no that, and the other. And she might go for years without having anybody in her life until she finally meets the one, as opposed to having a whole bunch of Negroes run through her. That's the same way I was with my business. I was like, no. Before I run around all over the place, I am a coach. This is my purpose. This is what I know that I'm supposed to do. You swag different. You step out different. And the way you present yourself is different when you know you're worth it. Now, yeah, your price points may be off and stuff like that, because that's somewhat self-worth, and that's somewhat actually understanding the business and what's possible, because you're opening up yourself to another realm of possibilities when you're an entrepreneur. That's different. But I'm just talking about coming out and being able to stick with it and say, listen, now I ain't going to sit here and fight it, whether or not I say personal development coach versus business coach or this, that, and the other. But the point is, at least I know who I am. And no, right. I may not even be able to put it in a system, and I may not be able to say that this is my 7-step process. But I know one damn thing: when you talk to me, you're going to be better. I know that I can heal or fix your situation. It's a different type of persona. And so when you come out with the latter, you're able to demand people come to you and pay you. But when you come out and you, with the first example, then it's kind of like, well, people may or may not pay you. They'll talk to you. They'll feel better after being in your presence, but they will not buy your products and services. And so when you're in a state of worry, when you're in a state of no standards in your business, you cannot create wealth. Because you have to say to yourself, listen, I know that when somebody comes across my path, as soon as I open up my mouth, and I'm using me as an example as a coach, I know that as soon as I open up my mouth, I only have 5 minutes and that person is already going to be moved. 5 minutes of talking to me. They tell me they have a problem because of who I am and what I was created to be. As soon as I open up my mouth, their life is going to start changing. And I realize that I am valuable. It is very valuable for me to be in someone's presence. That's a difficult place to be in. And that's the reason why not on my Facebook page, but on my business page, I said creating wealth and faith. And you guys know how I am when it comes to faith. So I'm going to throw this in here, and then Pika, I'm going to throw it back to you. What in the world does faith have to do with creating wealth? Think about this. If faith is always is predicated upon external mechanisms, you'll never create wealth, because you're always waiting for something to happen. Oh Lord, if he could just make the rain fall down and open up a window of blessings, then I'm gonna be good. I see your hand. I'm gonna get you in here in a second too, beautiful. Let me make sure I finish this. As opposed to saying, wait a minute, but the spirit of the divine lives inside of me. And he's given me power and authority to do these things. Now, you guys know that I use more Christian analogies, but I ain't never trying to throw anything on anybody. But you're talking about the same entity that gave you dominion over lions, tigers, and bears. But then spiritually, from the point of attracting wealth, you can't take dominion over your life and say, here I am. I have arrived in this jungle called life and create wealth. You have to know that you can do it. And so what a lot of you guys do is you sit in a waiting pattern. And for a lack of a better way to explain it, I said I was going to be quiet because I know the church folks probably tired of me beating up on them. But like, for instance, one thing that always used to turn me off is that there would always be that person that when it was testimony Sunday, that would always have a testimony about how somebody knocked on the door, how somebody always gave them something to eat, how somebody thought about them right on time, how somebody paid their bill. And it's like, but when are you going to start lending instead of borrowing? When are you going to start operating in abundance? When are you going to start receiving exceedingly and abundantly above? When are you going to actually be empowered? And so if you look at things from the perspective of always wanting something to come to you or happen for you, then you're forgetting that God is not only external, but he's internal, and that there's a divine power inside of you, and you do have the ability to create wealth, but your mindset and your spirit has to have that expectation set. Let me unmute Miss Gloria.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying because I've been there. So I know exactly that. And as the word does say in Deuteronomy 8:18, he gives us power to get wealth. And in Hebrews 11:1 tells us that now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So with those things in mind, as a business person, you don't even have to really read the Bible, but just have some faith to do, because, that is something that is going to take you many places and many things in order for you to have a good business. And I speak for myself because, see, I know I have power. I know who I am, but I'm not fully pushing into who I am, because I think a lot of my situation stems from, like I think I mentioned over on Stacy's page when we were writing about who we were. I've got all the ramifications necessary, but I think basically what I've been focusing in, and I shouldn't have, and I need to just get rid of it, and that is the age thing, the inability to do the social media, which a lot of you younger folks are telling me don't worry about it because it will come to you and all that. But that's where everybody seems to be meshing into, is the social media, and that's something I really don't know how to do. I'm just not tech savvy. So I'm listening to what you're saying and what I've heard Stacy say and other ones, that now it's beginning to explode inside of me to be able to do what I should do, because I know I have it, I'm just not doing it. And so, that can happen not only just to me, but to others. And I think it doesn't have to be with age, as I'm finding out. It's all about your intellect. It's all about your mindset. That's what you're saying. And that's the whole thing in a nutshell. And it has taken me about 4 or 5 years here of just being sedentary and stuck with not being able to do, because I know what I have inside of me and what there is out there, even at this rough point in our day and age because of our society and our world. Somebody needs everything that all of us have been through to help them come forth and be who they are, who God has called them to be, to decide I have a vision and I have a destiny. So I just wholeheartedly agree with what you said, and it's just enlightening me more so on today.
Okay, and I'm going to wait and let Pika say something, but I'm going to respond back to the thing. Basically, what you talked your age, I'm going to talk about that from the perspective of limitation. Please don't let me forget that, Pika. Limitations, and then going back to the scripture about faith. I got a couple of things that I want to say to you, Miss Gloria, but what's on your mind, Pika?
Actually, I was going back to, I hate to say it, we were talking about faith that just now, but I wanted to go back to the booty call analogy, because I was thinking Players Club, where what was in one takeaway was don't make the money, don't let the money make you. And I find myself in that space where I could make the money all the time, but I wait to the last minute where I'm in dire straits, and then I let the money make the decisions for me instead of the other way around. And that's something that I think a lot of people can identify with as well, because when we have the opportunity, we don't always do it. We wait to that last minute kind of situation, right? Where we suddenly can jam pack the day with a million different things that we could have done a little bit at a time the week before, but we just didn't.
Yeah,
there's a mindset thing.
I'm going to say this really quick too. And so if people that's got a pen and a pad, this is one of those things you write it down and you come back and you say, ooh, that was at about 30 minutes to the podcast. And let me write this down, because a lot of times what people wrestle with is the right words to say. And so let's just talk about the real ugly stuff that people don't necessarily always talk about with entrepreneurship. So let's just say you're down on your luck and you got a product to sell and it's at your discretion. You know what, you can choose, you can sell it for whatever price you want to, but let's just say that it's $200 and you really, really need $100, and that extra $100 would make you feel so much better. And then you run into somebody because you're in a dire straight situation and they're haggling you and trying to talk you down to 160. And somebody might be like, well, August, well, what do? Do you just totally walk away and you wait till you get the next person that's going to do 200? Like I tell people all the time, in that moment, in that instinctive place, everybody as a coach can't tell you every single move that you're supposed to make. And so my faith might say, no, wait, go to somebody else's. But for somebody else, I tell them, look, if you fold, because at least you will have that 160, make sure you let them know this is a one-time thing. And then you make sure you go do that work. You snatch that 160, you deal with your issue, and then you go back and say, damn it, why did I do that? Why did I let myself sell myself short? But at least for that person over there, you said, I'm going to do this one time for you. Those magic words mean a lot. Because if you don't say that, then the next time they come back, they might try to hackle you down for 150. I mean, this is speaking gigs and everything. I mean, you could say that your rate is 2,500 and they could say we only have 1,000. Well, I lined up with your mission and your cause. If that's all that you have and you're operating in integrity, it's all you have to pay me. I'll take $1,000 this time, but know the next time that you'll have to pay me when I work. Because you know what? Sometimes people don't talk about the things they had to do, where they won't tell you the things that they did do for free. But the point is having the standard. Now, don't like I said, don't totally just, rape yourself and give it all away, but that is a potential option. So I want to put that out there. But let me go back to this thing called limitations. And so there's this woman that I met. I cannot remember I think the name of her company is Grandma's House. And if that's what it is, Gloria, I want you to Google her. She's in Atlanta. There's an older one. I went to this conference and this woman spoke up about her business. And she is older than you. And she started a business and and I made my Facebook page and I did this and I got my email list. And so she goes to these nursing homes and things like that so that she can talk to these people about leaving wealth for their families instead of leaving them with an abundant amount of debt. And so sometimes we all have to look towards someone who fits our Lord, what am I trying to say? Our profile that looks and feels like us. Sometimes a Black woman needs to see another sister doing it. Sometimes a crippled needs to see somebody else that's handicapped, and so for an older woman, you need to say that. And even with me, I already know, first of all, you're in good hands. Stacy's a phenomenal person. She's really beautiful. Yes, Grandma's House, Atlanta. Stacy is a really, really beautiful person, and she's really concerned about people. There are things about her and I energetically that have lined up since day one with our beliefs about how you take care of people in the coaching industry. So I know she can work with you, but just know that there's something, even with me. One of my clients, Marcia, is 62. And so she's got her Etsy page and she's working on her email list and she's doing what she's doing. And there are other coaches out there too that'll tell you that they have, clients that are older. And so there's a slight technological learning curve. But the last thing I'll say in regards to that is this, is that leave an inheritance for your children's children. You're not behind the curve on anything else. It's just the technological side of things, because building a business on social media is still about the personal touch. Building a business on social media is about this moment right here, right now, about building relationships. And if anything, who you are and where you come from is what's going to allow you to stand the test of time. Because see, a lot of entrepreneurs right now are suffering. There are some high profile entrepreneurs that are going to see the title of this podcast and are going to listen because they low key suffering. And the reason why they're low key suffering is because they allowed spamming and the algorithm to build their businesses. But now that Facebook and IG are constantly making it harder for your business material to be seen, they have to revert to our ways of caring about conversations. And so as soon as you learn to incorporate the human element into what you do, baby, you'll be a beast. That's my word on that. Number 2, since we're talking about creating wealth and you brought up faith, and y'all know how I feel about my Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I've said this and I've broken it down very thoroughly. Quit saying that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. You all are focusing on the wrong 2 sets of words. Substance and evidence is what you're supposed to be focusing on, but you're focusing on hope and not seen. Substance and evidence says that I behave and I move in such a manner that there's an expectation. So the substance is this package that I've created for my business. The evidence is the fact that I get out there and I promote it. See, because if my faith is so high that somebody's going to sign up for it, I got to create it and I got to put it out there. And a lot of you have to just really recognize the fact that you don't have what they say in the military. What's that in the Air Force? You don't have stick-to-itiveness. You don't have stick-to-itiveness. What you do is that you like, okay, because you operate from anxiety, panic, and depression and anger and, a gurgling stomach, promote. And that right there, it's one of those things, once you bust past this barrier, you know what it looks like. It feels completely different. In the beginning, it's mechanical. It's like, okay, when I wrote out the post, did I make sure I put my limiters and my bonuses? Did I make sure I speak to where they are versus where they want to be? Did I make sure that I told them everything about the product or service? I got all that in there. I got some emotional triggers, blah, 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 blah. Versus where you like, look, I'm out here right now because I'm sick of this. Somebody's life has got to change. And look, I'm throwing this program and y'all need to get up in here. You need to sign up because this has to absolutely change. And I'm the one to help you change it. You don't even have stuff configured right. But you'll start word vomiting out little pieces of it because your soul is on fire to help people. See, that's the difference. So when you're not on fire to help people because you don't know who you are, whose you are, and what in the world you're supposed to be doing, you just still, even when you're promoting your business, just throwing stuff out there. But when you know that you know what you're supposed to be doing, you could be half-assed doing it right, but you will still attract people. You will still get them. There were people, let me tell you something, even to this day, there are people that come after me. I know exactly why they're coming after me because they look at me and they're like, well, I've been doing this for years and I've created multiple 7-figure earners or multiple 6-figure earners. And when I look at her strategy and how she posts, she doesn't seem to have one. She should have X amount of posts that say this, X amount of posts that say this. This type of call to action should be this way. I clicked the link in her bio. It took me to this kind of page and and that didn't work. But guess what? When you have faith, you can create wealth. Now, I'm not going to lie. The way that I'm promoting my Authentic Sales Academy, for anybody that's been following me for a while, if you go look at that page, you will see that that bad boy is very robust as far as explaining and breaking down everything. But I need you to know that I launched the same program with no landing page and made $20,000, had 5 women get up in there and pay me $4,000. Because it really wasn't, don't get me wrong, as you grow and you go, you get more polished. That's the biggest thing I'm trying to get you all to understand. As you grow and you go, you get more polished. The landing page is not why you're making money. The perfectly calculated and strategic posts are not why you're making money. It is the revelation inside of self that this is what you're supposed to do. And if you still warring with your confidence about why you put on a planet and you keep on switching the name, the title, the offer, and all of this stuff, and you're throwing spaghetti out there to see what sticks, you're trying to see what's going to work, you are not truly operating in your purpose. You don't really know what the divine has purposed in you. That's why it's difficult to create wealth. So when you're full on and you know what you're supposed to do, for instance, I had a group where people were paying me, some of them were $97 and some of them were $197. And I was reaching a point where I'm like, I need to be making more money. Now, mind you, everything was going great. I was making well over $2,000 in the group. Okay. That might not have been a lot of money to everybody else, but for somebody that, was barely making $1,000 period, not to mention, I think I had like 4 or 5 one-to-one clients on top of that. So and then I got people that are actually buying my books, and I put little other offers out there, and I get people to click the link. So at this phase of my business, I'm like living off the hog. I'm feeling really, really good. And I'm anticipating my first 5K month, which did fall very soon. But guess what? I was relaxed in, I need to make more money. And it hit me just plain and simple. I said, you know what? You didn't know, but you're worth, August. You're worth. Look at yourself. Hey, y'all, I'm calling you all to a higher place. This group is shutting down. You have to transition to one-to-one, or you have to do this. I'm going to reopen it. But when I do, the price points will be different, or what you get at the price points will be different, yada, 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 and keep on going. And those relationships ran their course. And some people transitioned with me. Some of them stayed connected. Some of them completely fell by the wayside. And I realized that I needed to transition into something else and put different offers out there. I realized that, wait a minute, why don't I have a single outside of one-to-one coaching? And why don't I have a single high ticket offer? And I'm like, I'm worthy. I deserve it. Nobody asked me for the offer first. I mean, if that's what you all are waiting on, then keep on waiting. Ain't nobody, hey, you know what? Gloria Peekaboo, can you tell me, I was just wondering, could you create a package that's about $8,000 so that I could work with you? Who does that?
Exactly.
But if you say I've got a package out there and I want to work with you, I want to, and I can help you, and it costs $8,000, and I position it properly, you'd be like, well, shoot, I need everything she got to give, and I'm going to give her this $8,000. Come on, Peekaboo, while I read Gloria's comment and soak in my response.
I don't know what to say. I mean, honestly, when it comes to money and finances, I'm not the best person. I'm still learning. I'm not a pro yet, but I do know that I can't afford to operate from a place where I'm struggling. I'm worried about the finances. So then I decided to go put stuff out. I know for a fact, if I hadn't been in your 28-day why challenge, you wouldn't have put me in a position to keep coming live every day on my page so people know that I'm there. The hardest thing for me to figure out was how to be consistent on my personal page and on my business page and on my IG page. So whoever is out there, they know I'm available, that I'm open for business. For a long time, I was scared just to go live on my personal page. I was going live everywhere else because I wasn't worried. But the bulk of my audience was on my personal page. If I don't consistently ask first, I have no business putting out an offer at the last minute when I really need the money, because it's still going to take some time for people to realize, hey, she's open for business. So that was a really hard lesson for me to learn. And it took me off my high horse, to be very honest. And
that right there, it's all back to self-worth. It's how do you feel about yourself? You know, I feel very good about who I am. I feel very confident about who I am. And I feel like, guess what? People need to see me. People need to hear me. I need to open up my mouth so that the people that are supposed to work with me, I'm right here for them. And so that means that I show up. But if you're wrestling with, I don't know who's going to see me, I don't know who's going to have something to say.
And that's exactly what I was doing. I was hiding because I knew who was going to say stuff and I didn't want to do it. But I needed to do it anyway.
But think about this, and it goes back to something that Miss Gloria said earlier, because she was like, with the state of the world. And I said something like that. You know, I say it all the time myself, that the gifts that we have, people actually need them. Okay? Oh, my bad. Marcia says she's 65. I didn't even know you on her, sweetie. I just seen your comment. But knowing, people need to know who you are and that you exist. And so that's a question you have to ask yourself. And I tell people all the time, and you're right, the 28-day why challenge is a game changer for people to come in there and to say, okay, I'm not only going to learn how to do Facebook Live, but then I'm also going to show up. But once again, we're talking about this creating wealth and having faith. A lot of people get disturbed. You get disturbed because if I say something and people start rejecting it, and you don't even really pay attention to the fact that you're tripping off of the people that ain't here to hear your message in the first place. You know what I'm saying? That's like me being upset because, for instance, I tell people I'm spiritually open, that I know good and doggone well what God can do in the name of Jesus. I've known what he's shown me through numerical signs. I've seen a lot of things. I'm not thinking about my hardcore, high rolling Christian people that's going to say, huh? What you say? Oh, no. See, Jesus ain't in that. You're not going to coach nobody. You're not going to lead them to know it. I'm not talking to them. And so there was a season where I had to realize I was not going to cater my message to the people that would be listening. The only thing they were going to be was an amen corner, because I said everything precisely the way that they wanted to hear it. There are a lot of times when I say things and they're specifically related to women, what we deal with and what we go through as business owners. I'm not sitting here worried about whether or not a man is going to come on here. You know, you always doing your videos, but you ain't never talking to the men. Well, you're not my ideal client. You're not my target audience. Now, if you come around and I recognize you, I'll address you, and I'll address you as a man. But my target audience, I'm not trying to talk to somebody. I see you came on to Camille. I'm not trying to talk to people that are not here for me to help them. You will never see a brain surgeon saying, oh, you know what, they got a cardiovascular issue over there. Let me just go hop over into that room. But you're a specialist. And there's a specific thing that you've been created for. But the question is, do you know that? Because if you know that, then you know you're also worthy of the reward of your labor. I'm going to unmute you, Miss Camille.
Hey, Camille.
Hey, I'm on my phone because I'm watching this on my tablet, so I'm hoping that y'all can hear me without any feedback.
We can hear you.
I can hear you. You got a little bit low. Maybe bring the phone or your mouthpiece closer to you.
Okay, is that a little bit better?
Much better.
Okay, so I had to come on only because I heard Pika talking about she was worried about the folks who were going to see her, what was going to respond, and who was going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to come on because I put in the comments, I live that life, I know that life. Because I was at that point at one point where I was like, oh, I don't want to do anything for my personal page because this person will see me and this person will see me. And then, I had this history and they might say, and they might look at me and ask all these questions. And it did take work. It wasn't something that was like a light switch. And then all of a sudden, oh, I'm here for everybody. Let me shine for the world. That didn't necessarily happen overnight, but the work that it did take for me to be able to get to a point where I was like, you know what, F it. Whatever they say, whatever they see, they see. I already know their personalities enough that if they gonna say something, they just gonna say something. And I can either be my little sarcastic self and say something real snarky back and laugh and joke and shut it down, or I could just ignore, delete, and block. Like that delete function is awesome. So if you know that you got people that are gonna say stuff and you're worried about what it is, there's nothing wrong with deleting that comment from your post in order to make sure that energy.
I've done that before.
Exactly. But I also know that getting to the point where I was able to say, you know what, I don't really care what folks are thinking now because what I'm trying to do is so much more important. Was the breakthrough moment. And when I decided to release whatever hold they had on me in order to be able to unleash the limits, because I was limiting myself by saying I'm not going to do this because so-and-so might say. You block blessings, you block opportunities, you block all types of stuff. But that moment when I was like, you know what? Okay, it's gone. I'm not worried about them. I'm just going to say what I want and do what I want. The stuff that came after that can't even compare. Like I would have never imagined that the day I decided I'm not going to care about that one person from high school saying something under my comments was going to turn around into, hey, you just got 2 new clients. Hey, you just got this. Hey, you just got this.
Yeah.
But you have to take that first step.
And you know what? I use the phrase a lot, heart-centered entrepreneurs, because that's what all of us are. Typically the people that follow me, you're very concerned about the soul and the spirit of people. Even like with Marcia, even though she may be making jewelry, she's still very concerned about women feeling like they're carrying the spiritual essence in the jewelry that they wear. And so what I need everybody that's listening to this podcast to recognize is that you're really advocates. And you got to ask yourself, am I truly worthy? Am I truly worthy to represent this client? So next analogy, an attorney. A good representative is an advocate for their client, regardless of what the rest of the world says. He killed somebody. Yeah, but, according to the system that we have, you don't have to convince me beyond a reasonable doubt. but didn't he confide in you and let you know that that's what he did? And you still plead bargaining for him to not be in jail as long or get off on community service or whatever it is. So how is it that in a twisted fashion that these people can do a job where I don't even know how they sleep at night, how they can advocate for people, but here it is that you are supposed to be kicking against a system that is holding people down. And a lot of you all will not stand in your position. I've said it multiple times that many of the things that we do as entrepreneurs requires us to show that we are worthy to hold these clients. And my clients that are listening, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, because the level of strength, and I'm not saying this in like I'm tired or disrespect or none of that, but the level of strength that it takes to hold you all up. Have you thought about that? Sometimes for just the moment, you should go back and you should reflect on how your coach loves and serves on you and how she will speak up and tell the truth, your truth that you're living no matter what. And ask yourself, why won't I do that for the people that need to hear my voice? Because that's what Camille's doing. She's advocating for all the little brown babies that if she doesn't do what she's doing right now, then in about 5 to 10 more years, they're not going to be able to find jobs. She said, not on my watch. She said, not on my watch. I see you, Marcia. You be confusing me sometimes. Raise your hand if you want me to. She's all beautiful. You look at people like Tomasa and Tiffany going through and doing healing and talking to people about nutrition and being able to communicate with the divine and to live a purposeful life and to be in peace. As Tomasa says, you got to clean up your caca. That's
Yeah.
that is real work that has to be done. And the energy and you showing up on a live video and speaking the truth as opposed to being worried about what people would think says a lot. You're not letting people know that they can be safe with you. Every last single one of my clients feels safe with me. And you got to feel safe in order to be able to say, I'm weak right now. You got to feel safe in order to be able to say, I don't know if I can take it and make it another step. Look at your guys' position. Look at your position and the impact that you're making. You guys heard me talking about last week that, everybody's like, oh, August, you got to call on your life. But everybody tried to box the call on my life to being in the pulpit. If I surrendered myself to the box of the pulpit, I wouldn't have been able to reach you all the way in Singapore, beautiful. My other clients in the UK. My other people that's all over across the United States because of what technology has allowed us to do and the people that we are able to reach. But you got to show up. Even if you don't know what you're doing, just show up. I remember when all I was doing was just going live saying, well, I'm going to come on here and give y'all a nugget. Sometimes money is an issue. Somebody had made a comment saying that, hey, they're willing to invest in themselves, but they also kind of got to fall back because they don't make the kind of money that they used to because your situation may have changed. And that's true. But I'm going to tell you something. And don't get me wrong. Immigrants and other people, they know this too, that come to the United States. But I have to say this, like I said, just same like I use examples with the church. I use examples that relate to me. And I need you all to understand something. I am an African-American woman. I remember when my great-grandmother died, I wrote a poem for her called Farewell, My Dear Madeir. And one of the lines said that she was able to feed 12 kids with a single apple. She'd sit there and she like you, Pika, she go ahead and she get some flour, she make some dough, she had diced it up in little pieces, she been made a little apple mini crisp pie treat, and it just have apple sprinkles instead of it being whatever it was that it took. She was able
She found a way.
She found a way. And so nothing. Do you have enough faith to know that this is your God-given purpose? Because even a lack of funds will not stop the dream. I remember when I had to beg somebody to pay my rent, but I still didn't stop on the dream. I wasn't opting in for freebies for the sake of freebies. I was like, okay, I'm opting in for they freebie, and they said do this. I opted in and I implemented. Okay, that didn't work. Try something else. That didn't work. Try something else. But just don't sit. Faith without works is dead. Move. You've got to do something. You get around movers and shakers, and whenever you do have little moments here and there where you can get you some access to something, then you take it. I tell people all the time, that's one of the reasons why I make offers like with the live video workshop. It's only $47 to come in, and then it's $10 a month to be able to stay in it. But if people understood the level of coaching that's available just from going through the primary training series and the Q&A videos, some of you all are missing your breakthrough because you're like, oh, I got to get to that next big, great thing. No, you just need to get to the next thing that's right for you and what you need to do. And so you show up in your gifts. You be the light. You be the city on the hill in order to make sure. And I promise you this, when you show up, God will always send an angel. Whether they will coach you pro bono, whether they will have one conversation with you. I've had people do all kinds of things with me, talk to me for an hour and basically give me a whole, not a strategy session, a coaching session. And so I continue to pay it forward by doing the same things. A lot of you guys, your blessing is right in front of your face, but you're not taking the necessary steps. Because I can tell you, I look at some people, and I'll give you an example. There was a woman I reached out to. I seen her pressing for 2 years straight. Now, the way she came at me, you know, she came with her sad story first. I'm like, dang, we ain't even got a chance to even get to know each other. So, you know, I ain't try to move too fast because I ain't just trying to always give away free coaching to people. And she kind of popped on the scene, popped off the scene. But every time she turned around, she's trying to do something. She even asked to interview me for something before. And I remember reaching out to her. And I said, you know what? Now, this is the kicker. I was going to invite her to come into FMB pro bono and have her do work for me and still pay her. But she would just reduce the rate based on what it would have cost her to be at FMB. And I was going to pay her more than what she was asking for because her rates were just that low. But a lot of you all miss opportunities. And it's so funny because when she and I were supposed to talk, she's like, I'm running behind schedule. You know, you was running behind schedule 30 minutes before you and I were supposed to get on this call. And so I look at how people move. See, you can't make yourself get ready once opportunity comes. You have to be in a state of readiness. You got to be like the ladies. So for the four virgins, your candle got to be lit. For those of y'all that understand their preference, you got to already be ready. You don't get ready. You stay ready. That's what that scripture means. You don't get ready. You stay ready. And if you're not ready, then you miss opportunities. And then when you get the opportunities, you stop being stubborn and just do what it is that you've been instructed to do. Prove the person wrong that everything they're saying ain't right. Quit starting and stopping and being stagnant. But do what in the world it is that you got to do in order to get what it is that you want. You do believe that this is what you were created for, right?
Yep.
Let me look at some of the comments over here on the other side on Zoom. I don't know if you people commented on the watch party or not, Pika.
I'm not seeing anything on the watch party. Everyone's silent. I think you got them thinking. I'm hoping you got them thinking.
I hope I got y'all thinking too.
You got me thinking. I mean, honestly, you were talking about, you know, you can't be stop and start. You can't do the stutter start thing. And we just did, Camille and I just did day 13 of the 28-day challenge. And that's talking about holidays and days off. We don't take days off. Depression does not take a day off. I can't take a day off. Mm-hmm. If your anxiety does not take a day off, I cannot take a day off. Now I'm trying to save other girls like me because there wasn't anyone to save me. I had to save myself. But now that I know how to do that, it's my obligation to pay that forward. Absolutely. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah. Somebody else. So we got somebody said people should just buy from looking at your beautiful face. God has made, he said, you're a beautiful black woman, Pika. Praise God. That's a blessing. So true. Ministering in whatever capacity does not mean that you have to be in the pulpit. Yeah, and amen. Thank you for your. Okay, that was you. Oh, you did see it. Okay.
I did. I saw it late, but I did see it.
Yeah, I'm sitting there reading through. So we got a bunch of you say. I just used to give away free as a former SR human resource specialist until I was told I should be getting paid for my expertise. Yeah, and please understand when I made that comment, I'm not talking about just giving away all your goods for free, but there are moments and there are times when, I'll do some things, but absolutely. Your expertise, if people want it and have it, then you open for business. But make sure that you're showing up beautiful. Make sure that you are being out there and letting it be known that you're open for service. Make sure that people understand that this is the expertise that you bring to the table and what kind of change is going to happen in their life once they work with you. And even when it seems like nobody is listening, then you still keep talking. So I just realized that we just been on here going. We actually have reached an hour. So I'm going to get ready to close this down one last time. If you got a last comment, raise your hand before I finish. But part of success in creating wealth is about celebrating. And I want all of you, if there's any of you that's dealing with any type of financial dilemma right now, I want you to, this is the quick version of it. I want you to tear yourself down and build yourself up. Go ahead and just take a real good look at everything. All the ugly stuff that you can't afford, all of the stuff you don't like in your life, all the things that you believe that need to change, and, just put it all out there. Everything that disgusts you and put it out there. And then I want you to go back and I want you to flip that. Because see, if you keep on thinking about how much food you do or don't have to eat, whether or not you can or can't afford to buy new shoes, whether or not you can or can't get this for your child or take them there, you'll stay in a place of anxiety. Flip all of those things around and say why you're grateful. Like you can have a ton of credit card debt. But even though I don't, there are seasons when people have lived off credit cards. Be thankful that you've been able to live off of one, whatever your story is. And then after you flip it and you make yourself grateful, then come back and write the empowering side of how you're going to change it. It's not just saying, oh, I'm going to make $5,000 this month. You know what? I'm going to serve X amount of people by doing this, and pour your heart out about how you're going to serve them so that you can begin to see yourself the way the divine sees you and have the expectation that the divine has for you for things to be better and for things to change. And I'm going to say one last thing. Okay. And then I am going to officially close. A lot of times you guys are going through stuff and you think that you're crazy and you think that no one else sees what you're dealing with. But unfortunately, more of us have experienced the same things than others. And I told you guys before about how I literally was like, if we had rice, sugar, and butter, we had peanut butter and jelly, and we had apples, we was good. I've already been at that point where I've been very low. And there are more women around you that have been that low. I remember I had a client, I was living in Houston. And I remember having a conversation with her, and she was dealing with a bunch of marital issues. Okay, I'm going to let you come on real quick, Miss Gloria. She was dealing with a bunch of marital issues, and she was really, really upset. And we were just talking, and her business wasn't doing exactly as good as she, was anticipated. And he was messing up the money. And even then, but she couldn't stay in victim mentality. And I remember she didn't have no food. I was like, you don't have no food. Yeah, it's a nice little, Houston is a big ass city, but you want to know what? I hopped up in my car and I went and got her. And I'm like, we going to go get some food, because she was just that low. We've all been low. We've all been low. And more people need to be open about the low points so that other people can realize that they're not crazy. You're not crazy. But instead of thinking about the fact that your cupboard is almost bare, be thankful for what you do have, and then speak about what you're going to get. Whatever your situation is, write out the truth about how hard it is. Flip it and say how you're grateful for it being the way that it is, because it could have been something else. and then write out the empowering statement, the soul behind how you're going to change it. I'm going to let Gloria respond. I just unmuted you, beautiful.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say on that point what you said about the different things that people go through. A lot of times, we go through things that we don't really realize. God will allow us to go through those things to bring us up to where we need to be, because a lot of folks just think, oh, well, I'm here and I'm this and I'm that. And that's not the point. It's the thing is, even the word says, and the Bible says, he's never seen his righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. So, that's a really profound statement amongst many, many more in the Bible. And I think, because I'm getting ready to do an ebook on Proverbs, 31 Days of Wisdom on that. And I think, people would be able to get in the Bible or getting to something enriching to give them some spiritual know-how, they wouldn't feel as bad, because I know I've been through a lot of changes and a lot of things have gone on in my life that, I just wonder sometimes, God, what's going on? But, he says he never put no more on us than what we can bear. And that is another true statement. So, and I always say, but God. And my only thing like right now is, he has given me everything in my life I've ever wanted. I don't have a need for anything. I've even gotten down to the very last bone of food, but he always comes through. I'm just looking to try to have a business that I can help somebody else come through things I've been through, because like I tell a lot of folks, the graveyards are loaded with people. And the majority of them, they're loaded with people who have talents and gifts. And I say that's the most richest place in the earth, because the gifts and talents that God has given us is lying dead under that dirt that nobody has ever tried to put out there to help anybody else. And I always say to God too, before I leave this earth, I want this vessel to be empty, because I know what's sitting out there under that dirt that you gave, but they never used. So that's just a point I wanted to make. I don't want to take up too much time, but I just thank you for the opportunity to speak that out. But just remember, but God, because he has your back. And I'm grateful for that. Very grateful.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Miss Gloria.
I lied because she said something. I gotta say one more thing, gal.
Go ahead.
I told y'all I like the pastor. Give me 5 more minutes. 30 minutes later, you're still in church. But she said something, and for my people, for my Bible scholars, that scripture that she brought up, I went ahead and pulled it up on Google real quick to make sure I don't leave a piece of it out. But that's in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. And it says, there hath no temptation taken hold of you, but such as common to man, meaning that you ain't going through nothing nobody else has gone through. But God is faithful, and he will not suffer you to be tempted beyond that which you are able to bear. But with the temptation will also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. And so what I know about a lot of church folks, and this is where you mess up at, and this is why you don't get your breakthrough, is that you have a tendency for always waiting for the way, oh, God, he'll provide a way of escape. I found church folk will stay right there. He'll provide a way of escape. But